It's 8:12 on a Tuesday morning, and you are standing in the cereal aisle comparing two boxes by price. One is $4.29, the other is $3.19. You put the cheaper one in the cart. You have $12 million. Nobody in this store knows that. The kid stocking shelves does not know. The woman behind you in line does not know. Your own brother does not know. Only one person on earth knows: your wife. And the two of you never say it out loud. You look like a man who buys the cheaper cereal because he has to. That is the point. Because the story of a man with money everyone can see is loud and short. The story of a man with money nobody can see is quiet, and it lasts a lifetime. This is that story. And there are four parts to it: the secret, the scoreboard, the test, and the trade. By the end, you'll understand why some people build a fortune and then spend the rest of their lives making sure no one ever finds out. Let's back up. You are 41. You live in a normal house on a normal street, 3 bedrooms, a garage that does not close all the way, a lawn you mow yourself on Saturdays. Your car is a 2014 sedan with 130,000 miles on it. The paint is fading on the roof. There is a coffee stain on the passenger seat that never fully came out. Your neighbors think you're doing fine, not rich. Fine. That word, fine, is a costume, and you wear it every single day. Because the truth is this: somewhere in a set of accounts most people will never see, you have $12 million. It didn't come from one lucky hit. It came from 4 boring rivers that ran for 20 years. A good salary. You were an engineer, then a manager, and by your late 30s, you were clearing around $220,000 a year. A small ownership stake. You took a lower cash offer at a growing company in exchange for equity, and when it sold, your slice came to a little under $2 million after taxes. Then the rentals. You bought your first small house to rent out at 29, then a second, then a duplex. 6 doors now, mostly paid down, quietly collecting rent every month, and under all of it, the index funds. Every raise, every bonus, every rent check that didn't get spent, it went into the boring market and sat there for 2 decades. Nothing flashy. 4 quiet streams running a long time into one still lake. And now that the lake is full, you've learned something nobody warned you about. Having the money was the easy part. Carrying the secret is the hard part. The secret. You still remember the exact moment the number crossed the line. It wasn't champagne, it was a Wednesday night. You were sitting at the kitchen table with a laptop and a cold cup of coffee. You refreshed the account. The total updated. 12 million. You waited to feel something huge. You didn't. The house was quiet. The dishwasher was running. Somewhere outside a dog was barking. And you just sat there, staring at a number that could change everything, feeling almost nothing. Then your wife walked in, saw your face, and looked at the screen over your shoulder. She didn't scream, she didn't cry. She just put her hand on your shoulder and said very softly, "Don't tell anyone." You both understood in that second that this was now a thing the two of you would carry. Together. And no one else. That was the first lesson. The money did not walk in the door with music. It arrived in silence, and it asked one question. Who are you going to tell? And the second you thought about telling anyone outside that kitchen, your whole body tightened, because the moment you say it out loud, you stop being you. You become the number. So you closed the laptop, you washed the coffee cup, you went to bed, and the two of you told no one. This is where most people misunderstand quiet wealth. They think it's about being humble. It's not. It's about protection. You just learned that the truth is expensive to hand out. The scoreboard. Here is something you started to notice once you had money nobody knew about. There is a scoreboard running under every conversation. You just never saw it before because you were always losing on it. Watch how it works. At a barbecue, a guy asks what you drive. You tell him. He nods, loses interest, turns to someone else. You slid down the scoreboard. At a family dinner, a cousin talks about his new truck for 20 minutes. Everyone leans in. He climbed the scoreboard. At work, a coworker gets a small promotion. Suddenly, people CC him on things they never CC'd before. His name got heavier. None of it is about the person. It's about the number people think the person is worth. And here you are, sitting on $12 million watching everyone play a game for scraps of respect, while you hold the whole board in your pocket and say nothing. You could win any of these little contests in one sentence. You never do. because the moment you flash the number, the game changes. People stop reacting to you, they start reacting to what they can get from you, so you learn the quiet rule. Once you're actually rich, the smartest move is to pretend you can't see the scoreboard at all. Remember that feeling of watching the game from the outside. It comes back later and it costs you something. The humiliation. There's one afternoon that tests you in a way you didn't expect. You walk into a car dealership, not to show off. One of the rentals needs a reliable used truck for the handyman, and you figured you'd look. You're wearing your Saturday clothes, old jeans, a faded jacket, those same fading shoes. A salesman walks over, gives you a 2-second scan, top to bottom, and you watch the math happen behind his eyes. He decides you're not worth the full pitch. He points you toward the cheapest lot in the back. These might be more in your range, he says, not unkind, just certain. You could correct him. You could say you'll take the truck in cash today and 2 more besides. You could watch his whole face rearrange. You don't. You just say, "Thanks, I'll look around," and you walk the cheap lot he sent you to. Because here's the thing you've learned. Proving him wrong would feel good for about 10 seconds. Then you'd be the rich guy who shows off at car dealerships, and you'd rather be the man he underestimated than the man he remembers. You drive home in your faded sedan, a little stung, a little amused. The world will read you by your shoes, and when you have real money, you let it. Being underestimated is a kind of privacy, and privacy is the whole point. Level by level, why you hide it. The secret didn't start big. It grew in layers. Let me show you the levels because each one changes a person. Level 1. You hide it from strangers. This one is easy. Strangers don't matter. You fly economy. You don't correct the salesman who assumes you can't afford the upgrade. It even feels a little fun, like a private joke only you and your wife are in on. Level 2. You hide it from coworkers. This one gets harder. You still show up to a job you don't strictly need. You still nod when your boss talks about quarterly targets. Why keep the job at all? Because the day you quit with no explanation, people ask questions, and questions lead to the truth. So you stay, at least for now. You become an actor in your own life, playing regular employee for 8 hours a day. Level 3. You hide it from friends. Now it stings. Your buddy is stressed about a $2,000 car repair. You could cover it without noticing. You want to. But you know what happens if you do. He'll wonder how. Then he'll wonder what else. Then the friendship tilts, and it never tilts back. So you say, "That's rough, man." And you let him struggle with something you could erase in one tap. That night, you feel like a liar. Level 4. You hide it from family. This is the one that quietly eats you. Because family is supposed to be the place where you don't have to hide. And now it's the place you hide the most. Your mom clips coupons, your sister worries about her kid's college, and you sit at the holiday table with $12 million and a plate of turkey, saying nothing, because you know exactly what the truth would do to the room. Each level takes something from you. The money bought you freedom from the world, but it built a wall between you and the people closest to you. And you're the one who built it. The hidden cost. From the outside, your life looks small. That's what people don't understand about quiet wealth. They picture mansions and sports cars. They picture a man who made it, showing it off. The reality is stranger. You wake up in a normal bed. You drive a normal car. You buy the cheaper cereal out of habit, even though you never have to look at a price tag again. And underneath all of it, there is a low, constant hum. Not the loneliness of being alone. You have a wife, a family, friends. It's the loneliness of not being fully known by almost everyone in your life. Every conversation outside your own kitchen has a locked room in it. A version of your life nobody gets to walk into. Even at home, it has a weight. You and your wife speak in code around other people. You catch each other before one of you says the wrong thing. And once, late at night, she says something that stays with you. I hate that we can't just be happy about it out loud. She's not angry. She's tired. She wants to call her best friend and say the number and cry and laugh about it, the way people do. And she can't. She never can. That's the part of the secret that lands on her, not you. The celebration you both earned and neither of you will ever have. You don't have an answer. You just reach over and hold her hand in the dark. Money solved the problem you thought was the biggest problem in life. Then it handed you a quieter one you never saw coming. Being unknown is peaceful and lonely at the same time, and you can't have one without the other. The test. You've hidden it from strangers, from a salesman, from coworkers, from friends, from family at the dinner table. All of that was practice. The real test comes when someone you love needs help. It's a Thursday. Your brother calls. His voice is different, tighter, careful. He's not calling to catch up. He's behind, way behind. He lays it out slowly, ashamed of every word. $18,000 in medical debt from your nephew's surgery last spring. And on top of it, 2 mortgage payments missed. The bank has started sending the letters with the bold print. He needs help. He hates asking. You can hear that in every word. And here you are, holding $12 million, listening to your own brother describe a hole that, to you, is barely a rounding error. You could end his stress before dinner. But now you're standing at the exact door you spent years locking. Because if you hand him $18,000 in one clean move, he'll know. Not the full amount, but enough. And once he knows, the family knows within a year. And once the family knows, the requests never fully stop. Not because they're bad people, they love you. But money slips into a family and quietly changes the shape of that love. A little need creeps in beside it, and nobody ever means for it to. So you make a choice. You help him, but quietly. You tell him you and your wife had a little put away for emergencies, and this is exactly what emergencies are for. You cover the medical debt, you catch up the mortgage, you frame it as a stretch, like it cost you something, so he never has to feel like charity and you never have to answer the real question. You give him a life raft and let him believe it's a piece of driftwood. He thanks you. He cries a little and pretends he didn't. He has no idea you could have paid off his whole street. You hang up, you put the phone face down on the table, and you feel 2 things at once: relief that you could help, and a strange, heavy sadness that you had to hide the fact that helping cost you nothing. That's the trap nobody talks about. The good you can do, you often have to do in disguise. Later that night, you're unpacking groceries and the receipt slips out of the bag onto the counter. You look at it without meaning to. The cheaper cereal. Store brand coffee. The coupon you clipped, saving you $1.10. Total for the week, $61. You just moved $18,000 to save your brother's house without blinking. And here you are, 3 hours later, quietly proud of a $1 coupon. You almost laugh, because you finally see it clearly. The cheap cereal was never about the money. It's the last piece of proof that you're still the same person underneath all of it. You fold the receipt and put it in the drawer. The breaking point. There's a night it almost cracks you. You're at a wedding. Open bar, loud music. Somewhere near the end of the night, the conversation turns, the way it always does, to money. A guy at your table, nice enough, a little loud, starts going on about how he's basically set. A few $100,000 in retirement, a boat, a timeshare. He says the word wealthy about himself, and everyone at the table gives him that little nod, and something in you snaps toward the edge. For 1 second you want to say it. You want to put your drink down and tell the whole table the number. Watch their faces change. Watch the loud guy go quiet. Finally, for once, be seen for what you actually built. The sentence is right there in your mouth. You know I have 12 mil. And you stop. You take a breath. You put the glass down. You let the loud guy keep his moment, because in that half second, you saw the whole future play out. The way they'd look at you after. The way your name would travel out of that room and never come back the same. The favors, the distance, the quiet math people start doing when they know. You'd trade years of peace for 4 seconds of being impressed. You don't do it. You smile. You say, "Sounds like you did well, man," and you mean it, sort of. Then you catch your wife's eye across the room. She saw the whole thing happen on your face. She gives you the smallest nod. She knows exactly what you just swallowed. You drive home together in your fading 2014 sedan, past houses worth a tenth of what you have, and you realize something on that dark road. The urge to be seen never fully dies. You just get better at surviving it. The rewind. So how did a normal guy end up here? It wasn't one big move. 20 years ago, there was a version of you with $600 in the bank and a car that barely started. And that version made one boring decision over and over. Every time the paycheck grew, you left your life the same. Raise came in, lifestyle stayed flat. The difference bought the first rental, then the second, then fed the funds. Nothing about it was clever. 6 rent checks a month, an equity slice that hit once, and index funds you almost never touched. That was the entire machine. Everyone around you got a nicer car, a bigger apartment, a newer phone. You looked from the outside like the guy who wasn't going anywhere. For years, you looked like you were losing. Your friends had the visible wins, you had the invisible ones, and invisible wins don't get you respect at a barbecue. But invisible wins compound, that's the whole game. You didn't get rich by earning a fortune, you got rich by refusing to spend like you already had one. And the reason nobody knows today is the same reason it worked back then. You were never doing it for them to see. The other side of quiet. Let's be honest about both sides because it isn't all loneliness. There is a specific kind of calm you own now that money bought and nobody can see. When your car makes a bad sound, your stomach doesn't drop. It's just a car. Fix it or don't. When there's a layoff rumor at work, you feel the fear in the room, but it doesn't live in your body the way it lives in theirs. You're there by choice. That changes everything about how a Monday feels. When a bill comes, it's just a piece of paper. Not a threat, not a countdown. You walk through the world with an invisible floor under your feet. Everyone else is walking on a rope. You're on the same street, in the same shoes, buying the same cereal, but you can't fall the way they can fall. That floor is the real luxury, not the boat, not the watch, the floor. And here's the strange part. Nobody can see a floor. You can't post it. It only exists in the moments when something goes wrong and you simply don't panic. The richest thing you own is a feeling other people will never watch you have. The trade now come back to that cereal aisle. $8.12 on a Tuesday, 2 boxes. You picked the cheaper one. For years, you thought the secret was a burden, a wall between you and everyone else. But somewhere along the way, standing in aisles just like this one, the meaning quietly flipped. You realized you were never hiding the money to protect the money. You were hiding it to protect the life. The ordinary house, the old car, the Saturday lawn, the barbecue where nobody treats you differently. The brother who cried on the phone and still looks you in the eye as an equal. The wife across the room who catches your eye and knows. The friendships that never tilted. The money could have bought you a bigger everything. A house people stare at. A car people photograph. A name people whisper. You looked at all of it, and you chose to stay a man buying cheaper cereal. Not because you're cheap. Because you finally understood the trade. The moment the world knows the number, the world stops seeing the person. And you'd rather be seen small and known truly than seen big and known never. So here's the last truth, the one that took you $12 million to learn. You didn't hide your wealth because you were afraid of what people would take. You hid it because you were finally rich enough to want nothing from them but the truth. The cereal goes in the cart. You head for the register. The woman behind you has no idea. And that, the quiet, the peace, the not being known, turned out to be the one thing all that money was actually for. Maybe you've met a man like this. Maybe you're slowly becoming him. If this one stayed with you, there are more waiting on Capital Story. This isn't financial advice. It's just a clearer way to see the game.